If you've seen some of my earlier videos, I talk about how I'm transitioning from riding street-oriented motorcycles to an adventure bike. Now, I've been riding a motorcycle for about 50 years, with the exception of a older two-stroke 120cc Kawasaki dirt bike. All my bikes have been basically street-oriented, and I haven't carried any safety gear basically for years on the street. I always figured I was going to be close to somewhere. Should I get a flat tire, run out of gas, have some issue, I could use a phone, and that was mostly true. But now I find myself with my Yamaha Tenere 700, the Nomad, that I'm taking more extended trips, both day trips where I'm off the road, off the grid, and multi-night camping trips. So I realized I'm going to need to carry a little more safety gear than I have on my street-oriented motorcycles. So the need to carry more safety gear, or any safety gear at all, became a reality for me after taking my T7 out on a few rides. And especially when I went on overnight rides, I've run into a little bit of problem. If you've watched some of my earlier videos, I describe some of those problems in a little bit detail. And over the course of the last number of months, I've been collecting more and more safety gear, and I think I've got a pretty good kit right now that I take with me, whether it's a day ride or a multi-day ride. I always carry this safety kit with me. I think the other issue too is that, I am a senior citizen. I am not a young man. I'm in pretty good shape. I'm fairly healthy, but I have friends and family that are concerned that I mostly travel alone. And on a reasonably heavy motorcycle, 450 pounds, that has quite a bit of power, and they want to be sure, as I do, that when I do ride my motorcycle, that I have enough safety gear to get myself out of any incident that might happen, or let's say most incidents that might happen. I don't care how much safety gear that you carry, there's always a risk and a potential for getting into some trouble that you really can't solve. So if you'd like to see what I have in my safety kit as a senior citizen on a mid-size adventure bike, riding mostly solo, then stick around for this video. I'll go through all the pieces that I've got in my safety gear. You can evaluate it. Give me comments whether you think it's good, necessary, unnecessary gear. I'd love to hear it. So here we go. Stick around. Well, I've got the Nomad parked here in the stables. It's January, it's a beautiful day out. I think I'm going to go for a ride. I haven't been riding that much in the winter. I've been more focused on winter snow sports, but we haven't had snow for a while and the roads are dry. Today's a sunny day, and I think I'm going to go out for a ride. Now, I carry the same safety gear whether I'm going on a day ride or whether I'm going on a multi-day ride. And all that safety gear is right here on the bike right now. I carry it in a couple of packs. So I always take this Kriega. It's a 10-liter dry bag, and I've got it fastened on the back of the T7. A lot of my safety gear is in that kit. The remainder of my safety gear are in these bags that are made by Heed. This is a Heed basic crash bar. I'll go through on another video why I picked the Heed basic crash bars, but they do come optionally with a couple of side bags, and I use that for some of my safety gear also. So let's go through. I'll pull my safety gear out and I'll go through all the pieces one by one. Yamaha Tenere 700 comes with a standard toolkit, which is under the seat. To get to that toolkit, you've got to use the key, which lifts up the pillion seat in the back, and you pull that off, and then there's 2 hex nuts that you have to remove to get the seat where the tools are. Now, I always carry with me an extra hex wrench, because if you don't have this and you need to get to the tools, you'll not get the seat up. So I carry a spare. Also underneath the seat, I carry some extra tools. So I'm going to go ahead and lift the seat up, show you the tools that I carry along with the standard Yamaha tools that are under the seat. Now that I got the bolts out, it can lift up the seat, and as you see, underneath the seat is the standard tools that come with the Yamaha T7. I won't go into that. Those are standard tools, but I do carry them around with me so I don't have to carry an extra toolkit. But underneath here, what I found out is I can also store some additional tools on top of the battery, and they fit just perfectly in this spot. Now, these are both tire changing and wheel removal tools specifically for the T7 from eastbound. I'll go over those briefly in just a minute. So under the seat, the other piece of equipment that I got, which is a convenience, but I also think it's also for safety, and that's this USB charger that's directly connected to the battery. Now, I run with this little pigtail hanging out here, so I can charge all my devices, my camera devices, my phone. I can also use it to run the air pump if I need to do a service on the tires. I can also use it to charge other batteries. So it just kind of sits out here and then hangs underneath the seat. But it's kind of essential for my other safety gear, and I can run it directly off the battery, which of course gets charged as I'm driving. Okay, so I've spread all my safety gear out on this table, and I'll go through it now. So there's the bag. Like I said, almost all of it, a lot of it I should say, fits inside this 10-liter bag. Some of it's underneath the seat, as I showed, and then others are attached to my crash bars in the crash bar bags. And so, of course, the obvious thing that I carry after running into a problem early on with my bike, not carrying inner tubes, because the T7 does use tubes. It's not tubeless. So now I carry a tube for the front and a tube for the rear. So I make sure I don't run out and get a flat tire without having tubes. And then to go along with that too, I carry a pump. And let me put the camera down and I'll show you the pump. So in my little pump kit here, I do carry an air gauge. So I can pump it up to the correct PSI. And then I have a small electric pump. This one is made by, well, I can't read it, so I'll put it here. I'll post it here. And the pump just hooks up and will dangle off the bike. And I can run this pump off the pigtail that I showed that runs off my battery. So, you know, as long as I don't drain the battery, which I doubt that's going to happen with this little pump, I'm not going to use it for that length of time, basically just to top off the tires or to change a tire. I have used this and the pump works great. It's real small, compact, easy to carry. And again, I'll post what I paid for this and what the brand is. Now, in addition to the pump and the tubes, I also carry a spare bicycle pump. I just happen to have it around, and I toss it in here. I was watching somebody else's video, and they talked about, you know, what would happen if you weren't able to use this pump. If you had a flat tire and maybe the pump got crushed or didn't work, at least this little hand pump, sure, I won't be able to put a lot of pressure on it, but it's going to get me enough air so I can get out of where I'm at and down to a service area. So it doesn't take up much room. I carry this along with me as well. This isn't a piece of safety equipment, but when I'm at home in the shop and I need to work on the T7, I do have a jack so I can lift up and change the tires or change the oil, work on the chains. So I just have a side stand. I don't have a center stand on the T7. Because I don't have a center stand, I carry a small portable jack with me when I ride so I can lift up the rear tire or the front tire to do maintenance on either the tire or the chain. This is a fairly common item. There are a number of manufacturers who make this jack. I bought this one in particular because it's got a little foot jack. Some of them don't have this little handle here, but I find it a little bit handy. I'm not that strong. With the other ones, you have to push this part in to make an angle and lift up the bike. With this little foot peg, I can place this under the bike and use my foot to lift the jack up. I won't go through a demo. I'll indicate what brand this is and about how much that I paid for it, and you can search some videos on how to use this jack. But it's an essential tool when you're out in the field. You need to work on the tires or you need to work on the chain and you don't have a center stand. So it goes with me everywhere. Okay, next are the two bags that I pulled out from underneath the seat where I store them along with the standard Yamaha tools. These are tire changing tools. So the first is spoons. Now these are made by Eastbound, and they are very high quality. I have to tell you, Eastbound does a really good job with all their tools. I'm not sponsored by them. I don't get anything for saying that. I'm just, they weren't cheap, but you could just tell the quality is really, really good. And so small and compact. I mean, it's really great. So these are spoons used for changing the tube out of the tire, and they're all they come with multiple parts, and the spoons will fit together, and it comes with two spoons. Like I said, they're very, very well made. I haven't really had to use them yet, but I'm sure they're going to work fine if I do. I haven't really wanted to practice with them, which I probably should once at some point. But I feel confident that these will do the job. So another kit that I got from Eastbound that I also store under the seat is a wheel for the rear wheel to remove the rear wheel nut. And so this is a wrench, which again is a modular wrench that fits very well, and is small and compact, which I love. And I can put this together, and I've used this a number of times, and I can remove the rear wheel. So if I need to, or just to loosen up the rear wheel, should I need to adjust the chain. So again, another very good quality tool from Eastbound. It fits very compact and just goes right under the seat of the Yamaha T7. Fits perfectly. So if you've watched some of my other videos, you'll see where I talk about the weight of the T7 and the difficulty that I've had picking it up once it falls over. Now, I've had quite a few comments of people commenting about either agreeing that the T7 is fairly heavy and fairly difficult to lift up, or that I'm using a technique that's wrong. whichever it is, the techniques that are out there don't really work for me. Partly is, I'm older, I'm not that strong, the bike is very heavy, it lies flat, very awkward to lift up. So what I did is I went out and I bought a eastbound moto winch, it's called a moto winch. I did a video on the moto winch. You can look at that on my channel and how to use it. But it fits in this nice little bag. It weighs about 5 pounds, but I've used it a few times, and to me it's a lifesaver. I just really don't want to be stuck out riding somewhere with a bike over on its side, no one else around since I'm riding solo, and I'm stuck trying to figure out how to lift the bike up. And should the bike even fall on top of me and I can't get out, there are videos of how to use this winch to self-rescue yourself, as well as just to pick up the bike on a normal fall. So this eastbound moto winch, is an essential tool that I carry with me everywhere I go, because I'm riding a heavy bike that is difficult to lift up. If you look at some of the other YouTube videos of owners of the T7, they'll kind of validate that point, that the T7 is one of the harder bikes to pick up, even harder than bikes that are much larger in size. So this winch, yes, it costs a bit of money, and yes, it adds some weight, but I carry it with me, and it gives me the confidence to go ride solo as I do, overnight trips away from cell phone range, off the highway. So another essential safety kit that I carry with me. Also, on an earlier video last year, I showed how I use this little strap to help me lift up the motorcycle by putting it around my neck and on the bike and then lifting it up. And I got a lot of comments on that, which was great. Most of the comments were, this is the wrong way to lift a bike. You're going to hurt yourself, and there's other methods. So I appreciated that, and which is, partly led me to buy the moto winch. But I still carry this strap around. I think it's useful to have a strap to strap something down on the bike, or I can use it with the moto winch to extend the strap that comes here if I needed to drag the bike or pull it instead of lifting it up. I think this strap can come in handy, so I still carry it with me. Along with the strap, I carry just a few other tools that I want accessibility pretty quick without having to take the seat off. And so I do carry the hex wrench, as I said. I carry a screwdriver or two, a small wrench, a bungee cord or two, and those kind of help me as I go along, more of a convenience rather than safety. And the other item I carry if I'm going on an extended ride, or let's say if I'm going off-road, I carry a small safety first aid kit. Let me go through real quickly what's in this kit. In this kit, I've got a small Johnson & Johnson first aid kit, basically bandages and such, some tissue paper, I have some sunscreen, there's a space blanket in case I should get stuck and I need to spend the night. I've used this when I was a firefighter in my 20s, and it really does keep your body heat in. So that's very lightweight for emergency use. And I also have a light in case I should be out at night, and a whistle, which is actually very important because this whistle, is a lot louder than just me yelling for help. And I have a multi-tool with a knife and some others instruments on it, and then some matches in case, again, I need to have a fire if I'm stuck someplace overnight. A rather expensive piece of safety gear that I decided to buy is this Garmin InReach satellite communicator. Now, it's not a phone, but it does connect to satellites, and you can text using either free-form text to people just like you would with your phone. You can also send preset messages with a map and a location. And then if you're really in an emergency, there's an SOS button on the side which will connect to a dispatch center to provide assistance, to send help, whatever is needed. So I travel quite a bit here, and especially in Oregon and in the West, outside of cell phone range. And if I get stuck and I really need some help and I don't have a cell phone that works, I could really be in trouble if I'm out traveling solo, which I mostly do. So I went ahead and invested in this Garmin, and I also have to spend about $12 a month for an annual subscription that allows me so many text messages per month, unlimited SOS messages though. I use this to also keep my family and my friends informed of where I'm at. It's got mapping and GPS in it, and I can set some preset messages to let them know that I'm on my way, that I'm en route, or that I've reached my destination for the night, or that I've reached home. And this will send a map to them with a location of where I'm at and my preset message. So I use this. I take it with me if I'm going solo, if I'm camping. I take this skiing, and I take this other places too, when I'm hiking. So it's not just for the motorcycle, but I do use it as a backup safety valve. I've not had to use the SOS button, but I do use the texting sometimes, and I definitely use the preset messages to let my friends and family know where I'm at en route when I'm out on a solo adventure. So that's basically my safety kit that I carry on almost every ride, whether I'm riding around town or I'm off on a multi-day ride. That's the safety gear that I carry. However, if I do go on a multi-day ride, I generally take a few more items. One of those is I take an extra fuel bottle. This one's about a liter or so. It'll get me another 15, maybe 20 miles should I really be desperate and need to get back into civilization. I carry that with me. And then I also carry a spare battery pack. And this battery pack I charge using the little pigtail that comes off of the motorcycle battery. So I'll charge this battery pack as I'm riding. And then when I get to camp, I use this battery pack to charge all my other devices. That way I'm not draining the battery on the motorcycle. So these are some additional items that I carry on longer distance rides. Okay, there's my safety gear that I carry on a daily basis. I feel really confident with that gear that I've got. It stores well, it's good quality. I've used some of it already and it seems to work well. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think that it's overkill, if you think that it's a good safety kit, if there's some items that maybe I'm missing that I should have. But as I said, it's made me feel a lot more confident as a senior citizen riding solo in areas outside of cell phone range. Safety kit, I think, is essential that I didn't used to carry when I was riding my street cruisers around town. So anyhow, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notify button if you'd like to see more of my senior moments.